That's a Shame is brought to you by the people who support us over at patreon.com/shamecity.
If you have $1,
$2.
$1 to spare, join us again at patreon.com/shamecity. Please.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
Hello and welcome to another free episode of everyone's favourite Sunday releasing podcast, That's a Shame. My name is Declan and opposite me is Isaac. He is there. You might not notice him as much because he's looking very tired today.
Oh, it's been a busy life far. Busy week, busy month, busy day.
Isaac is reeling from the news revealed to him this week that he is no longer eligible to vote in Young Labour matters.
Well, first of all, I never wanted to.
Thus officially moving him past the designation of youth.
Does it go from young to old
and
Labour
into no, not old, middle-aged.
No, that's not middle-aged, is it? 27.
It could be.
I'm in the prime of life and Declan's jealous of my gains. He's been seeing me working out on Ring Fit and he's like, God, if only.
I'm going to set a challenge to the listenership here. To go back through our back catalogue as a show, or indeed anything Isaac has ever written or published, social media, officially written,
I'll be
and
locking all that down.
And find for me even just the one instance of him claiming that being past the age of 27 is indeed the prime of life.
I've often said that you're not 27 is the new 19.
Really?
And that's not just me that
And you
says
won't be
that.
using that for your sexual exploits, you're just saying that broadly.
Goodness me, no. But thank you for asking.
That's
I'm
okay.
doing great here at that tender age.
That's cool, I didn't ask.
Hurtling towards 28, to be honest, in 2 months, 3 months?
Yeah,
One of those.
2 months.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't care anymore. Emma Watson turned 30 and I thought if she can, so can I.
And you're going to be sticking to that on the 1st of December when...
Be fine.
Because ordinarily, you are miserable as sin.
Not miserable.
No, miserable.
I'm
miserable
reflective, mate.
as sin.
People misconstrue my birthday.
People don't
mood.
misconstrue it.
They think I'm in a bad mood when actually what I'm doing is just meditating on the year that came, the year that's to come.
He's miserable, spoiled.
I don't open my presents on my birthday and people get annoyed with that.
Yep.
But I'll tell you for why. Delay gratification. It's what the Buddha would have wanted.
he
says, mete out your joy, probably. I've not read
He's
his
a
writings.
very normal man sat opposite me here. It's been a long, busy week.
Yeah.
I'm annoyed. I am annoyed.
I'm
I know
sorry
it's
to hear that.
I know
Unlike
it's
you.
not a rare occurrence,
No.
but I'm annoyed because I should be enjoying this evening.
Yeah.
I should be getting an early night.
Yeah, well, it's
So
you've got
school
work
in the
tomorrow,
morning.
haven't you?
I should be celebrating the fact that my very bad football team won a game 4-0 unexpectedly.
Congratulations to the West Ham Hammers.
But I haven't been able to do any of that because I have had to be diving into this week's content, and it is bad content, and I am annoyed, and I would like to bring this up before we go into it, just because you've never had to do anything like this for the show.
No, I have to do much more egregious tasks.
Indeed, you're trying to force ever more on me. Barely had I even finished the text, then Isaac is attempting to push on me the
Confirm
task.
it, go for it.
Well, I'm not going to do
Declan's
it.
going to be reading
I
the
won't
new J.K.
be.
Rowling book.
I certainly won't.
Committed to
I won't
it,
be
guys.
reading even one of the 900 odd pages
I tell you
of
what,
her massive
wait.
transphobic tome.
Let me just throw this out there.
There's nothing you can throw.
Listen.
There's nothing you can throw.
Shake my hand.
I'm not shaking your hand. I'll spit on it.
Is there some kind of Patreon goal where
No,
we
there's
could
no
do bonus
Patreon goal.
content of a chapter
If
a week
we are
of mocking?
earning
I reckon
enough money
15
for me to
patrons.
quit my job, I'll read that book. And until then,
I tell you
no.
what, we'll work this out off air. I don't want to have to bring you guys into
We're not-
this. Is like when
there's
Mummy
no
and Dad
working
are
out.
arguing.
There is
We
no
might-
negotiation.
We might be able to because
No, we
I've read
can't.
The Art of the Deal and I'm hella persuasive. I'll probably rock up with a big firm handshake, and you'll be so flustered you'll give me whatever I want.
I won't.
And I'll be taking
I'm not going to be giving you
other
shit.
stuff from you as
and
well.
I certainly
as
won't
this
be
book.
giving you weeks of my life
I think
trawling
what
through
we
that
could do
garbage.
is like chapter. I'm just saying, if the listeners demand it,
If you
then
think it's such good content, I think
should-
you should do it.
I'd be
And
happy
I
to
think-
alternate chapters.
And I think that the listenership should do
that's
it.
on record.
No,
I'm magnanimously saying I
not
will
alternating
do it.
chapters. I want you to do
It's
it.
fine. I'll do it.
Cool.
I'll do it.
You'll do it.
Every other chapter.
Oh, no. I want you to do the book.
Yeah, I will do the book
The whole
in as
book.
much as
All of the chapters.
no, because I
Alternating and
want us to
then
be both
alternating in
in it.
between those.
No, that's not a good
Oh,
idea.
that's weird,
Because
isn't
I
it?
think that would be a one-sided show, and people want to hear your particular take
That's
as well.
fine. I'll give my take when you tell me all about it.
I'll say this to you, the listener. If there is a particular content type that you demand, and here are just a few that you might like. Declan reading Ready Player One. Declan reading the latest Cormoran Strike. Transphobic bullshit.
reading Declan's suicide note after his swift and unfortunate departure
Patrons
from
only.
both the show and life. Wow,
And the
I would
reading sphere.
love to put my suicide note behind a
Behind a
paywall.
That's huge gatekeeping vibes. But yeah, look, we are your servants, and we've always said that here on That's a Shame. I think that was the first thing we ever said in episode 1.
We
I
did.
came on air and I said, "Hello, we are your servants."
He put on a different voice for it and everything. Very strange.
And in that vein, if there's something you want us to do, tell us and we'll make up a very high patron goal to accomplish it. Speaking of which, we do need to decide what we're doing for our video content. So look out for, I might have said this last time, but look out for a will happen this week.
Yep, and
poll
if
on
you
that.
are a patron, we again reiterate our apology that
Yeah,
we
very
did
sorry
not
about
manage
that.
to release our bonus content.
But let's
this
remember
week.
we've been doing very well other than
We
that.
had been doing very well before
And
that.
we're doing double
And
this
we're
week.
doing double this week. And
God.
and they're already planned. So it's not like we haven't
it's
got the
huge, it's
content.
huge.
It's just finding a few minutes
Here and there
to
between,
do it.
between all those books you've got to read. Now, what have we got today?
It's Bob Honey.
Report Simon and Schuster. The Crime Watch, they can't be trusted with word.
Now, I mean, as I said to you
Mm-hmm.
via Facebook's own Messenger app
Yeah.
just minutes ago.
Not sponsored,
No, no,
so
not
don't
at all.
mention the name
Okay,
again.
sorry.
Unnamed Messengers app.
Yes. I was kind of in despair a bit reading the second half of this book, thinking that there was going to be, like, honestly, very, very little to say. And then kind of right at the end, it all fell into place.
That's very, that speaks
Which
to a
is
good
good.
writer.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
It just speaks to there is something for us to talk about. And I would, like, it's going to be very different to the first half that we went through, partly because that was very long
Yeah.
and very serious.
Very.
And I don't want this to be either of those things.
Okay. Short and light-hearted.
All you need to know, if you've listened to that first part, and if you haven't, go back and do so now.
But if they
is-
haven't, let's summarise it. It was
Oh,
bad.
it was bad. It was offensive.
To
it was
everyone.
boring.
To everyone.
It was meaningless.
Yeah. There's a good bit
It was
about hoovering.
pompous. It was just awful. It was disgusting.
Oh, it did have a lot of bodily nastitude.
Yes, and what I would just say is that the second half is all of those things, but turned up to 11.
Whoa.
Like it is more of all of those
That's
things.
pretty cool, though,
To the
structurally speaking.
to the point that like it actually isn't interesting to go into any of them. Like that was the bit that was annoying, is that it just would have been a longer list of some of the really bad things that he had written.
He's just done more of everything.
Yeah, like and just really bad. And one of the things that we were saying was that it's hard because his politics in the real life, Sean Penn, broadly seem to be reasonably good / better than you would expect.
Yeah. With that big caveat of his treatment of women.
Yeah, that is a big caveat.
Alleged.
And it's interesting because we will be coming back to that
Okay,
element.
that's good. I'll sow that seed.
But the character is and just the book in general is so offensively written that it transcends the idea of kind of mocking that like a racist or offensive character. It goes beyond parody to just being straight up offensive. And we are going to come onto that a little later as
Okay.
well. So what I'm going to say is it isn't going to be like the last one.
Yep.
We're going to do... I've actually got a quiz.
Oh, no.
I've got a quiz.
No need.
Then I'm going to give you just a quick plot roundup
Yeah.
of what
Yeah,
happens.
because I do need to know.
And believe me, you don't need to know.
It's loads.
Because there is nothing.
I need to know
nothing
what
and
happens to the
everything.
neighbour.
And then after that, we're just going to go in depth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm basically just going to read the final chapter.
Okay, so there are
and
spoilers
indeed
coming. If
epilogue.
you're reading along at home, you might want to pause this
Yeah,
one.
you will
and
want to
catch
pause.
up before we get there, because once we're in, we're in.
So to catch you up, Bob Honey, he used to sell septic tanks to Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yep.
Then he became an assassin who killed exclusively old people.
Yeah, don't ask
He just sort of he did firework displays for dictators.
He nonced about.
He nonced about all over the gaff. He was given all these missions by a sort of crack squad of Guinean grass-skirted
Yeah, sort of.
paramilitaries.
Yeah, like broad strokes characters, you might say.
Yeah.
Not some of the more nuanced.
No, they weren't.
Members
they
of the
were
fictional
they were
world.
like headed up by a guy whose name was Lude Star, who was involved for 3 lines in chapter 3.
Very cool.
And then that was that. And then he was involved with a girl called Annie,
Mm-hmm.
and then he wasn't involved with a girl called Annie. Then she sent him a picture of a dildo.
Oh.
Then he drove out to the desert and he burnt the dildo.
Oh,
Then he
it's
came
highs and
home.
lows.
There was a guy called Spurley,
Mm-hmm.
who was a journalist who was writing about Bob,
Yep.
who Bob
Reasons
sometimes spoke to, sometimes didn't. And then a helicopter crashed into Bob's neighbour's house. Bob
The neighbour.
killed the neighbour. Bob did some broad strokes AS, and then
Oh,
the
on a
first
boat, wasn't
yeah,
it?
and then the
Yeah.
first half ended.
Very cool.
The second half begins. The second half of the novel, that is, part 2, as it were, with the quote.
and is it split into parts? It is.
It is indeed part 1 and
okay.
part 2. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society.
That's cool.
And that is a quote from J. Krishnamurti. And there's a little picture of a house that is on fire.
Damn.
Station 10, station you'll recall is the term for chapter in this book. It's called Ballad of the Broken Man. Spurley comes round
Yep.
for a chat,
The journalist.
and for no real reason, Bob just sort of decides that he doesn't want to talk to him anymore.
Okay.
And
That's character development, though, because
Yep.
what previously he did, and now if he doesn't,
did.
that shows you that he's changed.
That's true.
He's growing and he's changing.
now he tells him to fuck off, and then we go into some new chapters. There's a lot of, like I said, there was a lot of quotes,
Yeah.
a lot of quotes, and it just got me thinking. I did a degree in English literature.
Yeah.
You did a degree that was sort of half in English literature, but
half in the philosophical arts.
exactly, which is its own form of literature. It's like a literature of the world,
Yeah,
and
of
of
the mind.
thought. So what I did was I've just drew up a quick quiz just to get the ball rolling.
That's interactive. I like it.
It's it's nothing new. It's
Mm-hmm.
just famous literary quotes, and you've got to tell me what they're from.
Oh no!
Yeah.
I'm super bad at these.
So no, I think you'll get some of them. I think
Okay,
you'll get
go
some
on,
of them.
give me a
So
few.
we're gonna dive right in here. Okay.
Dickens.
Hang on, I haven't.
Sorry, I jumped the gun.
Just to lay out the rules, just in case you forget.
Go on.
I'll read the quote,
And then I'll guess
then
what
you
the
try
quote
and
was.
guess what it was from.
Oh, what it was from?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, quote number 1.
True.
Quote number 1. Now, this one there is a clue early on.
Okay.
So, but just hold your answers until the quote is finished.
Okay.
Lolita, light of my life,
Yeah.
fire of my loins, my sin, my soul, Lolita, the tip of the tongue taking a trip of 3 steps down the palate to tap at 3 on the teeth,
The teeth.
Lolita.
Is that? You said it's from like literature quite broadly.
Yeah,
Is it,
yeah.
Is it Lana Del Rey? Is it Lolita by Lana?
It's not by Lana Del Rey,
Hey
no.
Lolita, I know what the boys.
It's
are.
the source
I'm not gonna
text for
play.
that. The source text for that.
Not
You
familiar.
don't know?
Not familiar with that. No.
Yeah, that's okay. But I'm going to give you a point
Pass.
because you
I'll
were
pass
right.
on that one.
No, I'm going to give you a point because you did get the title Lolita correct.
Oh, that was from. It was
and
in
it's
the
from a
quote as well.
book called Lolita.
Okay, cool.
That was
I
by
don't read
a
books.
Russian man.
Yeah, not worth bothering with.
Quote 2. America, it seems, is no longer that beautiful girl who'd birthed him, but instead the ghost of a girl he'd never met.
Tale of Two Cities.
It's not a Tale of Two
No,
Cities.
that one is in
no.
there. That one is in there.
No, it's that is from Bob Honey, who just do stuff
Oh, okay. That must be a quote, like a
Bob,
reference.
Bob ruminating on America, that it is no longer the beautiful girl who birthed him, but instead it is the ghost
His
of a
beautiful
girl
mum.
he'd never met. Yeah, that beautiful girl, his mum.
Does he always call his mum the beautiful
He
birth
hasn't
girl?
mentioned her up until here.
So 100% of the references to mum are as a beautiful
About her being a
birther.
beautiful birthing girl.
Interesting. That says a lot about Bob, and it says a lot, dare I say, about society. That's just my
Wow,
perception.
yeah,
That's just something I picked up on.
you're so good at taking the sort of the small and then just making it, yeah.
Synecdocheing.
Wow.
In reverse.
Synecdochizing.
Yes.
Quote number 3.
Go on.
I give you this watch and I give you the mausoleum of all hope and desire. I give it to you not that you may remember time, but that you might forget it now and then for a moment and not spend all your breath trying to conquer it. Because no battle is ever won, he said. They are not even fought. The field only reveals to man his own folly and despair,
Wow.
and victory is an illusion of philosophers and fools.
That's either the third or the fourth of the Narnias. I'm thinking Voyage of the Dawn Treader.
It's
Go on.
it's not. It's
Oh, it
not
was the
Narnia.
third.
No, it's not.
The fifth.
It was- I'm afraid you've got the
Silver
whole.
Chair?
You've got the whole
The Magician's
series
Nephew.
wrong.
Fuck. God, I know more about those
I-
books than I
than you
thought.
thought. You were really committed to the
horse
bit.
and his boy.
No, that was from The Sound and the Fury. That was Faulkner, not C.S. Lewis. There were fewer magical sort of mice in this one.
Reapercheap. He wanted to drink the sea. That's his main thing, wasn't it?
That's a big dream. You've
Yeah.
got to dream big, they say.
And he does in the end.
Drink the whole
He
sea.
drinks it right up to heaven.
Oh
Spoiler.
no!
Spoiler for the Voyage of the Dawn
And
Treader.
the sea itself
It
goes with him,
Yeah, it goes up. It's like an upward water up.
and that boat is just on the floor.
Just hanging
For it.
out.
Oh
Yeah,
wow!
It's really
I
sad.
should read that. Sounds great.
It's very weird.
Quote number 4.
Yeah.
You got 1 out of 3 so far.
Okay, but I came quite close in the others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question 4. I'm interested sometimes in eyes, mostly
eyes.
women's eyes.
Oh, I know this one.
That's a bit like spies, I think.
What, eyes are a bit like spies or being interested in eyes?
Being interested in eyes,
This
mostly
is-
women's eyes. That's a bit like spies, I think.
I can't remember the name of it, but you know when Twin Peaks was first on air, they did the book. It's not this. I'm just using this as an analogy.
Okay.
They released a book between the series, which was like Laura Palmer's diary. So it's like a first-person account of that one. It's that, but for the guy from Jeepers Creepers. It's his like ramblings on eyes and stuff, and why he's so into them, and why he wants to make a big like necklace of the eyes. Is it called the GP Creepy Diary, something like that? I think it was available
hate
in
to-
like W.H. Smith's
I hate
2003.
to like. I
it
hate.
came with a pack of Skittles.
I don't want to crush your
They
enthusiasm,
tried to upsell you an Evian.
but that one is also Bob Honey who just do
Oh,
stuff. I
fucking
know.
hell. I guess I should have.
I know. It's Spurley chatting about how he.
I didn't
Why-
know he was into
there-
eyes.
No, and neither did the reader until he just put it out there.
What I'm seeing is that Sean he's referencing it everywhere.
He's got.
Scattershot.
I know.
He's read Jeepers Creepers. He's read.
He's a literary chameleon.
He
He
really
can
is,
take
yeah.
the form of anyone he wants.
He can imitate the great writers of our time. His command of prose it is second to none.
Quote number 5. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good
I know
fortune
this one.
must be in want of
Fucking
a
hell,
wife.
yeah, that's an easy one for me. That's it's that old woman.
Yeah,
She's
go on.
writing about there's a problem in I want to say England,
Yeah,
and the problem
Yeah.
is feminism's not going anywhere.
you're
yeah?
so close. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so she's gonna live with a guy, and he's rich. She's not so rich,
yeah.
and they want to talk.
What a
It's
sort of-
Emma.
No,
Oh.
you're so close. Do you want
Sense and
to have another go?
Sensibility.
No,
Oh.
it's not. Oh, God, you kick
I'm out.
again.
I'm out. They're the only two I read.
Wow, you knew more of the Narnia books than you did Austen.
Yeah. Fuck.
Wow, so much for you being a feminist, huh? That one, you were so close. It was Pride and Prejudice.
Pride and
Prejudice.
okay. Well, I wouldn't read a book about prejudice or pride
No,
because I,
I
have
suppose.
neither.
No. But you would
In
read
bucket
about sense
loads.
because you've got.
Very and sensibility. Tons of this
Well,
stuff.
that's
I don't know what that one means as much.
Let's give. Okay, let's
I'll have a
move
point
quickly
for that.
onward.
I'll have a point.
You can have a half. You can have a half point for that.
Two halves.
Who are they by?
It's by Jane, English Jane.
Well, yeah. Well, you can have a half point. So you got 1.5 out of 5. Question 6.
These are hard though. It's like University Challenge.
It is
like
actually
Henry
really.
Connect.
You can imagine Paxman. This is like starter for 10 sort of
I
thing.
can imagine him in a big robe asking me all these.
She smiles, lights a cigarette, and takes a deep drag. Then speaks through egressing smoke.
Egressing.
Narcissism's nasty little secret, she teases. Oh, poor man. You don't know, do you? You think yourself a killer, but there's no one left to kill. Identity is life. The world has replaced its identity with electronics. You, old man, if you don't mind me calling you that, are from a generation of self-love. Our only self is, well, selfies.
Selfies. Oh, okay. That's quite political. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's sort of like a kind of generational
I don't see politics.
vibe. It's like he's having a go at the whole, like the way we
I
are
don't know
today.
what you're talking about.
I don't recognise that one a great deal. It reminds me of something I read in one of the Mr. Men books. I think it was
Mr. Identity Crisis.
Mr. Idpol, I think was his name. I can't quite remember though. No, you have to illuminate me.
You're going to kick yourself.
It's not Pride and Prejudice again, is it?
No, it's
It's not another Nabokov. Oh, it's
Bob Honey who just do stuff.
He just keeps doing all these quotes.
Oh.
The thing is, there's no consistency in any of how things like the tone, how horrible and weird they are.
No, nothing like
some
that.
of them very horrible and very weird. But for example, that one, very good and normal.
Very good and normal.
May I say astute?
Yeah, and concise.
That's like something you'd read in like a Hadley Freeman column.
Oh, goodness.
That's a hell of an
It's
insight.
not quite Marina Hyde. Not.
No. Well, who is? The alphabet? That's just hers. We
hers.
borrow it.
Whenever I am writing on the board, I just do a quick look
Just
up
little
Father,
dab.
Son, and the Holy Hyde, and it's over to her. Now this one's because you are a bit political.
Sometimes.
You do skew political.
You've caught me.
And so
Guilty as charged.
This one's going to be. This is a big one for you. I think.
go on.
Come on, this has got to be. Oh, we were only talking about this just last week, I think, on the pod, maybe. So, quote number 7.
Yep.
It was a bright, cold day in April,
Oh yes.
and the clocks
Keep
were
going.
striking
Fucking
13.
Yes, they were. Oh, it's the book, right?
Yeah.
It's by George.
It is.
It's by Orwell.
It is.
They're the same guy.
That's him.
It's 1984.
Yeah,
High five.
boy!
Yes. Now that's a quote, right?
Now that is a quote.
It's funny. I recognise now why you put that one last, and you were tricking me.
It's not
some
last.
of those. Oh, okay.
It's not last.
But
no,
I can
it's
see
just,
why you've saved it until this beat, because like those other obscure ones, Pride and whatever, the little
something
one
like
at the
that.
beginning,
Yeah, I can't remember.
they pale in comparison, don't they? To the, it's not even just the prose here; it's the ideas.
I mean, here's like a miniature quiz within the quiz.
Yeah, go on.
Just name one thing that's ever happened that isn't covered by that book.
Yeah, well, I'll let you know when I think of one. Okay, I might
back
have to
to us.
subscribe you to
Yeah.
my mailing list for that. 'Cause it's going to be a while.
Oh, that's good. Two and a half out of 7 you're on.
Foresight,
2.5 out of 7.
Foresight. That's a double point to that one. That'll be about 5 points.
Quote number 8. His incisors make surgical entry,
That's a 2.
initiating a delicately inconspicuous cut through the
toothsman.
toasted, buttery carapace. His tongue laps the melted cheese as his jaws pressure squeeze it into his mouth. All systems watering. Delectable.
Ugh.
Friggin' magic. Frickin' diner grilled cheese magic.
Wow. I've cottoned on.
Go on.
It's Bob Honey.
It's Bob.
Yes.
That's a
recognise
description
something.
of Bob eating a grilled cheese sandwich.
Yeah. The reason I knew it was because, yeah, of course it was. That's just a normal way to eat a sandwich.
And that is,
Their
and
thoughts
dare
we
I
all
say,
have.
it's a normal way to write
Yeah,
the
yeah,
eating of a sandwich. Yeah.
And so Sean's capturing the real life
It's big. Yeah.
in a way that only a Hollywood celebrity can. Because who knows it better than they?
Wow, you've really hit it on the head there.
Thank you.
That's cool. Question 9, quote number 9, the penultimate one in our quiz.
Mm-hmm.
There is an idea of a Patrick Bateman, some kind of abstraction, but there is no real me. only an entity, something illusory, and though I can hide my cold gaze and you can shake my hand and feel flesh gripping yours, and maybe you can even sense our lifestyles are probably comparable, I simply am not there.
Now tell me the name.
It was...
Patrick.
I'm not going to say it again because that's too much of a clue.
Okay, well, you know me, I didn't remember names much.
No.
It took me a year till I knew yours. I think I've come across this one, maybe not in the book form. I think I saw it as a musical piece.
Yep. Quite possibly.
And so I'm going to throw out two, and I guess I'll get a point either way. It's either, because I saw these in the same year, it's either the novelisation of Groundhog Day, which, to be honest, I didn't know existed, or it could be a novelisation of American Psycho.
It was American Psycho. I see where you get the Groundhog Day because he too is a bit of a psycho.
And he's American.
Oh yeah,
So
he's the OG American
Psycho.
Psycho. Yeah, and I think that Brett was thinking of the author.
It's Tim Minchin, Groundhog Day, I think.
Sorry, no, I was thinking of American Psycho.
Oh, okay. I don't know who wrote that one.
I'm pretty sure that Groundhog Day was like a source text.
Right, okay, fair enough.
Final one, quote number 10. So you got that one right. So you're on 3.5 out of 9
6.
now. So chance to get nearly. In fact, if you get
I
this
get this
one,
one, I win.
I'll give you 1.5 and you get half marks. So that's
It was half mark pass, wasn't it? It's like first year.
Sure.
Perfect.
Anna Surma begins to giggle. The
Anna
giggle.
Anna?
Sorry, just let me finish.
Okay,
the quote.
sorry, I just was deaf.
The giggle becomes a laugh. Soon she guffaws herself from stool to floor. She begins to writhe, cackle, and cough out her laughter uncontrollably. Her eyes are watering. She nearly poos.
Oh.
Bob spies what might be a dime-sized and expanding moisture blossom from her rear end centre, signifying perhaps some minimal arse piss.
No, pal. You can't come on my pod with that kind of fucking purple prose drivel. I'm deleting that. That's not going out on the air. We can't let people hear that.
We've actually already said that once on the air.
I blocked it entirely out of sight and out of mind. I've already sort of erased it.
What, arse piss?
No need. Well, I don't think we need to maintain the pretense of which sick mind, which absolute word perv came up with that from his palace of
Word
freaky
vert.
pens. That's horrible nonsense. Now, where does that come in the book?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you
the
not
context?
immediately, but we'll get to the context.
Can't believe you're burying the
in a
lead
bit.
in this way. Okay. Well,
So
that
you're
was
guessing that was
exhausting.
Bob.
I'm gonna
Bob
go
Honey?
out on a limb
you're
and say
you're
that
gonna get your
today's
1.5.
creep is Sean Penn.
Yeah. Now, just anything that you'd like to say, reflecting on any of those?
Well, there was a real diversity in gender within those quotes.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the greats of literature, some of my favourite novels ever written. Not many of them, to be fair.
No.
But yeah, I think that Bob Honey, what is shown to me, and I think this is what you were going for. It's quite a clever exercise. I know you used to be an English teacher, so maybe you've just snuck this in. And they say, don't they, in Futurama?
You can do that.
If you've done the best job possible, sometimes people won't even know you've done anything at all. I think that's the exact phrasing of the quote.
Yeah.
It's quite that cumbersome. And so maybe what you did there was highlight through juxtaposition the way in which the Bob Honey quotes, even if I didn't pick up on it first of all, that they were just alternating, they are all quite singular. And there is, if nothing else, a very specifically nasty, weird voice.
Yeah. Well, that
underpinning them.
is it. Like, and that is why I've decided to mostly, apart from sort of like a few here and there, keep the quotes contained to that quiz, because what I noticed listening back to the last one and then just reading this bit is that it doesn't matter what brand of horrible or bad that particular quote is. Mm-hmm. They all do share that singularly horrible and identifiable voice that is,
It is.
well, actually, we'll come on to whose that is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A tease.
Yeah, we've got some interesting
knowledge.
stuff to go through.
I look forward to it.
So, yeah, the first chapter of this part, Spurley comes over, they're having a chat. Bob is like, nah, I'm not going to do this anymore. And Spurley's
it's
like,
capricious.
well, that's a shame. And he leaves. Bob looks at the news for a bit, and there happens to have been some police officers murdered. Just after some police officer had murdered some black people.
Okay.
And then there's this particular quote. The news is reporting the shootings of 5 police officers in Dallas. No deliberation in the deification of police officers offered here, when just the day before it was police officers who shot 2 civilian black men to death. Judge, jury and journalists had reflexively pre-convicted them of racial rancor by Ruger in a country rife with rule of law. It occurs to Bob that the media had effectively encouraged the killing of the cops, with that previous day's reporting meant to buoy its own fraudulent Negrocentrism and grandiose liberal enlightenment.
I forgot quite how exhausting it is to listen to.
And you made me read this.
Yeah, the alliteration alone sort of takes years off your life, I feel. Of course, it didn't mean anything as well, and that's, to me, the greatest
That is
sin
important,
of all.
and it is cool that you picked up on
It's a
that.
shame when people think they're saying so much and are saying so little.
What-
It's really fine if you're writing a book to just be like, I'm just writing a book about this thing. I don't need to have an angle on everything, I don't think. You can just tell a story, you can just describe some characters.
Well, it's amazing to say so many words to convey so little a message and meaning, and yet still manage to have it be so broadly offensive.
Yeah.
It's almost impressive. It's almost impressive.
It's certainly
it's
a difficult
bad.
to
It's very
achieve
bad.
feat.
But you see, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, because you say that it doesn't mean anything, and I've said that too. But then there's a bit here that says Bob's irrational passion for dispassionate rationality is for him irreconcilable.
That's really cool.
And so
It's-
it sounds
called,
like he
tell,
thinks he
don't show.
means... Yeah,
And that's the
there's a lot of that.
alternative one.
There
Yeah.
is a lot of that, yeah.
It's when you get bored of the first one and you want to just hammer home my pro tag, super smart.
What does that sound like? Bob's irrational passion for dispassionate rationality.
Sounds like
It sounds
Hamilton.
like a...
To be honest.
It sounds like a Princess Carolyn thing,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
but not
or
very-
Bob
not
Lobble
great.
or Lob's Law Bomb
Yeah.
sort of vibe, but just very boring. So he just sort of is like, oh yeah, bye Spurley, and then he watches the news for a bit, and then that's that.
Mm-hmm.
Station 11.
This is where it picks up, is it?
What does it pick up?
One of the big
Do you want to
action
read the
stations.
name of this station?
Mine Drumpf.
Oh,
That is big. Now, you told me about this in advance,
Sean. Mine Drump.
I was taken away. I was blown away by it.
Now,
the sheer, just the kind of wit on this guy to come up with something like that.
yeah,
It took us belief.
to come up with something like what?
Well, what it is Donald Trump. They found out on John Oliver that his real surname used to be Drumpf, and so if you say Drumpf, then he cannot be the president no more,
That's interesting.
and he cannot do anything. So if what's going on at the moment is Nancy Pelosi's arranging a kind of. Do you know about a thunderclap? Do you know what that is on social media activism?
Is that like what the Icelandic people did at the World Cup?
It's like that, but
they're like-
metaphorical. A digital.
Oh,
one.
okay. So
Everyone
there's no actual noise.
You sign up. Well, a digital noise.
Oh, okay.
You sign in with your Twitter account.
Like a beeping.
Someone can set up these thunderclaps.
Yeah.
I think I did one once. And at a certain time, everyone is going to tweet Drumpf, and that'll be. Then he can't have a Supreme Court nomination.
Oh, that's good. That is
he'll
good, because
be-
otherwise,
Winded.
otherwise they'd like that could be quite dangerous.
Yeah,
if
but
he just
Pelosi's on it. Pelosi's on
okay,
it.
that's good. I don't know if any of the
Go on.
sort of Trump stuff has any relevance to this particular book.
I'm sure it will because that's an explicit.
I don't
reference.
think so.
Sorry,
I
the
don't.
second bit was Nazis as well. I didn't throw that.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's explicit. I think you possibly like correlation doesn't mean causation.
True.
So I don't. We'll see if there are any more references.
Yeah.
but
It might be quite subtle if it's
I don't want you to have pre-decided,
that this bit is about.
prejudiced,
Yeah.
if I may, yourself against the book by assuming that is what it's on about. Because I
Okay,
don't-
no,
yeah.
I remain open-minded.
There's a quote here. Together they make a mockery of mockery mimicking mystery. And this, Bob surmises, is the only reasonable explanation for the bloated blonde high priest and Pavonine of branding. The masturbatory populist who's become a media sensation and then some during his candidacy for king, making despots sing and helping the retro party, so inviting of the stupid to conscript the even stupider.
So inviting the stupid, that's fucking, he's got him. That'll win.
Damn them to their dopey demagoguery and its devilishness, Bob thinks.
Bob
So there's-
thinks some really, really annoyingly phrased
Yeah,
thoughts.
his mind
He
is
thinks like a real
his
fucking
mind is like a
loser.
sort of Willy Wonka bar all the time. nothing really happens in that
No,
passage.
this is
I
probably
would
one of
hate
those
to
like
say.
bottle passages, bottle chapters.
Basically, what happens is that he's like, oh, I'm gonna have. He decides it's not enough to just do stuff.
Whoa.
And he literally
But I
says
thought-
that,
wait,
and
wait.
it's
The title is He Just Do Stuff.
Yeah, you would think that, wouldn't you? And you'd think they'd carry that through because they have mentioned it 3 or 4 times. But you'll see here on page 98, it was no longer enough. New line, to just, new line,
stuff.
do, new line, stuff.
Fuck.
So he decides to throw
That's
a
a turning
party
point.
for people on the street.
That's
But
just
then
doing
it
more
turns
stuff,
out,
though.
that everyone is at the other lady's funeral who died in the helicopter crash.
I don't really see how that is sort of like what point that makes. Is that to say that he should not have made the decision?
No,
to do
sorry, I
more
didn't
than
mean to
stuff?
say that it. I didn't mean to imply that there was a reason for it.
Oh, okay.
Did I?
Sometimes in books, when events follow on from each other, there's like a thematic expression or like a
Right.
logic, a story logic.
No. And
Not in this
I'm
one.
afraid that continues here because he tells a story about going down to Katrina
Oh yeah,
to scare quotes help out.
yeah.
But actually, he just sees it as an opportunity to murder some more old people.
Okay,
But then there weren't any old people.
right.
But then he abandons the search party he was with and takes the boat. And then he just doesn't. That's that, really.
Ah, cool.
There was one bit in this that I did enjoy.
Sorry to hear
Or
that.
two bits, I'm afraid, even worse. One hand on a moonbeam, which has the potential even to be a moderately okay piece of imagery.
Mm-hmm.
If it weren't for the fact that he had then footnoted that to say maglite / flashlight.
Oh no! Why? Why did you do that?
It's so
lame.
incredible that there was a bit I wrote later where there were like 8 footnotes on the same page and they were all explaining acronyms. And I was just like, don't
Just don't
use
use them.
acronyms
Yeah, I
if you
guess.
have to then explain it. Like,
Maybe he's trying to say that if you're around Bob, his mind is so fast
Yeah.
and pure and sharp that it's like you're always having to keep
so
up.
efficient, it just thinks in letters.
Yeah.
Borrows them from Marina.
It's really cool.
The other bit was that he said one hand on a moonbeam, the other on his surreptitiously holstered mallet. Now, I don't know about you, but if I were part of a kind of aid team in a
someone was
crisis and someone was surreptitiously
carrying a mallet.
holstering a mallet, I would probably have some questions.
Yeah.
It says here that he was sort of like going back on this little boat, remembering he's just abandoned the rest of them in the sort of floodwaters.
That's cool.
It gave an almost surreal quality to his journey, or a flashback to Disneyland's Pirates of the Caribbean ride.
Oh yeah, in what way? Just because it's a boat.
No, that's that, I'm afraid.
Makes sense, yeah.
So that's
does
that.
float as well. Those are the only 2 things that float.
Yeah. Then he does this weird thing where he goes back to the hotel and then he starts dancing
By himself.
nude by
Oh,
himself in front of the mirror
Of course, nude.
to this song.
more
And then
surprised if he was
he's
dancing
dancing.
clothed.
He's dancing out of time, and then his movements at first slow and behind the beat. But as the music and its pulse rose, Bob began to follow, finally finding the spastic gesticulations that would purge his pond of pirates.
I don't know what that could mean, and I don't care to find out.
No, there were 3 points in this where I wrote into this copy of the book, I don't care. We have another interlude, much like how we had the preface, was it at the start? Or was it a prelude?
I do not remember.
We had was it
I
prelude?
expunged all memory of it.
Yeah, prelude, where it was transcripts from the sheriff's
Oh,
blotter.
yes, I do.
Yeah, so it's another one of those.
Oh.
It's Helen
What a
Mayo.
random place for it.
It's Helen Mayo Jr.
Yeah, who's that?
So she's the daughter of the neighbour who died.
Oh, okay.
And she's in one of those, what's it called? It's like a scissor lift, I think it is. One of those,
yeah, like a cherry picker.
yeah,
thing.
like a cherry picker. She's in one of those,
Right.
really, really high, where her mum's house was, and she's looking into Bob Honey's garden,
Okay.
and she's ringing the police from there.
That's weird.
And here's a quote. So she explains who she is to the sheriff, and then she says, "Yes, I told you that. That's correct. I'm Helen Mayo Jr. But listen, please. The lift is a bit wobbly. He's out there in that yard of his pruning a tree in all this wind with his belly out and sweating in his skivvies. I think he's somehow sending signals. I know he's a white man, but sometimes he just looks very Chinese to me. Those awful eyes of his swell with bad deeds, and I don't believe this is is just bonsai gardening, if you know what I mean.
Oh no. What could that mean?
What? Why would you?
Why would you introduce this? Has she been in it at all before?
Never before, and indeed,
And
I
she
can't
just
confirm
comes
never
out-
again.
she comes out
She's here for this
punching.
interlude just to say
to do some slaps.
anti-Asian racism,
Yeah.
and then she dies.
Oh. From what?
Over the phone, she falls out of the lift
That's
and,
clever.
and
That's
dies.
Chekhov's lift.
Yeah. The sheriff, to his credit, says, "Ma'am, bonsai gardeners are Japanese, not Chinese."
Nice.
But then he doesn't actually say what you've done there is say a lot of slurs.
No. Well,
He says, I think you should get down. And then she says,
she does.
oh my goodness. Then he says, ma'am. There's unintelligible screaming. And then the note, complainant had fallen and phone went dead. So did she.
she went dead. That's
She went
what they
dead.
write in real reports. That's so true.
Station 13 is called Opiates and Incest. Okay.
Heady combination of an
Okay.
evening.
This chapter is about 30 odd pages long. It's the
Okay.
only one that's more than like 10 pages.
So he was into this one.
It is,
Was he jacking it when
and
I
I
was writing?
cannot stress this enough,
Mm-hmm.
abject nonsense. I think something went wrong here in Sean's mind. More,
Just here.
more critically than ever before.
Uh-huh.
This is like his attempt at tying up the plot.
Right.
And
Which,
instead,
to be fair, would be a challenge for anyone.
well, yeah, indeed, for any
If you were
for any
handed this
author,
plot to fix, you'd be like, I'll pass.
so many threads never before have been woven
Yeah.
into a single string. The idea generally seems to be that he's going to confront Ludstar,
Oh, okay.
who was the
sure.
guy who we mentioned earlier who ran the grass-skirted.
Yeah, I didn't realise there was a plot thread sort of left.
No, well, there wasn't. There wasn't. He's just kind of like decides that he's got to go do this.
He does just do stuff.
He's worried about Annie, who is that girl he was
Yeah.
in love with.
The child.
Yeah, who sent him a picture of a slashed wrist, possibly her own.
Okay.
And he's like, right, I've got to go to I've got to go to Miami
Right.
to sort this out.
Which is where she lives.
No,
Right,
it's where
okay.
he thinks for some reason he has to go.
Okay. Sure.
Now,
How do you plan a book of this little
well, you
coherence?
don't. You don't plan a book of this little
It sounds like
coherence.
an
You
active
just
sort
write
of
it as
challenge.
it goes on.
I feel like it's harder to make this little sense.
So he goes. Well, he's watching the TV first of all,
That's unlike him.
and then there's this.
He's not
There's this
commenting
bit.
on society.
He
again,
clicks
is
on the television where the blonde buffoon aligns himself with Law and Order like a
he?
cartoon.
He fucking is.
It gets Bob thinking, could this high priest of branding himself be conspiring against the beheading of the unbranded? Could this translate to the preservation of that one-armed banditry that served the candidate's casino's clasp of cash? Was he or Ludstar playing both sides of being played? Has Spurley been a phalanx proxy of dual four-barreled reconnaissance? As he waded into his wisdom's windage, it was all beginning to make mechanized sense to Bob. The candidate's own Knight of the Long Knives might be on a putsch, or rather approach, as he himself famously had residences and golf courses in the greater Miami area. All roads lead to Ludstar.
What the fuck?
So
I really pay attention there. I engaged.
I know. I could
engaged
see.
the skill that I've been flexing with, like reading academic things for the first time in
Yeah.
years. Of being like, oh no, you actually have to do focus while you read
Yeah.
this. So I engaged that muscle, and I was passing it, and I feel what all of it meant.
I'm
and
going
at the same
to
time,
explain
the bigger
it.
picture couldn't be more elusive.
Okay, I'm going to explain it. Basically, he is watching someone
Uh-huh.
on the television
It's
who's
Trump, isn't it?
well,
okay.
again, like I don't.
That's a bit on the nose.
You keep
I keep
saying that,
bringing
but
that in.
anyway.
That might be my prejudice.
Yeah. So he's watching someone on the television, and he's like, "Oh, maybe they're involved in all of this stuff that I'm involved in."
Why would you think that?
Well, this is it. He's like, maybe the reason I haven't been able to kill as many old people is maybe he is stopping that from happening because he owns a load of casinos. This person who's on the television,
he wants him
and the old people
play
spend
there.
a lot of money there.
Okay.
So maybe it could
Very
be that that's
tenuous.
what's happening. So maybe he and this Ludstar guy are in cahoots. So he's going to go and see Lucifer. That's what he's going to do. He's decided.
Yeah, I'm afraid it makes no more sense.
I'm pretty sure it does. Then he's driving through the country, across country, and he says this bit about, it's not the country he knew. And he said, only the trains remain in tribute to that spirit refuge now vanquished by modern modernity's craven trumpery.
Oh, not modern modernity.
Yeah, modern
The
modernity's
worst kind of all.
craven trumpery. And then there's a footnote there. Trumpery
That's an
derives
interesting
from the Middle English trumpery and ultimately from the Middle French tromper, meaning to deceive. Trumpery first appeared in English in the mid-15th century with the meanings deceit or fraud or worthless nonsense.
Interesting. I wonder why he bothered to explain that.
Couldn't possibly comment. So he's like driving through the country. He stops in New Orleans.
Yeah.
He's having something to eat.
As you do. That's fine.
Now, there's a weird bit where he's biting into a grilled cheese sandwich.
I remember this bit from the
you might
quote
remember that,
section,
yeah.
yeah.
So he's biting into a grilled cheese sandwich, and then
Quite repulsive
this
it
guy
was.
comes and sits next to him, this old man,
Yeah.
septuagenarian.
That's one of Bob's targets, no doubt.
Yeah, and he starts talking to him. And the man says to him, at least you don't strike me as one of them hipster herbivores.
Ugh.
Who are you, Bob asks the man. I'm Pappy Pariah of Kerstetter, Kentucky, son, pastor to the Argo Applied Appalachian Archdiocese. I'm the one telling your story and intended to continue right after my coffee.
Okay.
My story, Bob asks. Don't worry about that, replies the man. That undernourished nymphomaniac over there just poured my hot coffee. Don't tell her I said that. Let me tell you something. It takes very little time to drink a cup of wine or to destroy a village. One day soon, it will take a week to conquer the world and a couple of days to establish a motive. It currently takes about 1 hour to underestimate the compassion of a stranger, their face reflected on a burnish of black coffee in a quaint cafe. And no man learns to cycle rounds on a paper route, especially when he has egg on his face.
Is this a
a
Sean
little-
Penn insert?
It's a little... Well, we'll come to that in just a second. They have a little bit more of a chat. And then the guy is like, yep, I'm gonna head off. Don't you worry about that. And then
I want
he
to be in the
says,
film I Am Sam.
yeah. He says, yeah, whatever gives you comfort. A bit stymied, Bob asks, how did you know my name? I wrote you. A letter? Haha, if that would give you comfort, I'm willing. But for now, your home's a tome. And he heads off. Now, I was a bit confused by this.
It's quite subtle, some of that bit where he said, I wrote you.
Yeah.
Because that
So
could
I-
have up to 2 meanings.
So I when I finished reading, I headed over, as I realised I hadn't done yet, to the Bob Honey Who Just Do Stuff Wikipedia page.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a section here called characters. And the first character, who has the longest section, is Pappy Pariah.
No.
Born in the fictional town Somerton Feathers, Iowa in 1960, Pappy Pariah is the author of the audiobook version of Bob Honey Who Just Do Stuff.
What?
Pappy is both the narrator of the book and the pseudonym for Sean Penn, who claimed to have met Pappy in Florida.
Okay.
Pappy claims to have written articles for mainstream American news outlets under a pseudonym himself, but this is his first novel. When he was 13, he suffered from severe appendicitis and says this medical event was the source of his inspiration to become a writer.
Oh, yeah.
Now, basically,
This is
what I
very
found
confusing. It's
is
like
that
he's doing an ARG in his own mind.
what I found is that it's kind of exactly that. Basically, he pretended that he'd met this person. So Penn
In real life. he
initially
did this.
Penn denied being the author of the book,
Well,
insisting
that's the
instead
first logical step
that
I've heard.
it was written by an author he had met in a bar in Key West, Florida, who was
Called
this Pappy Pariah.
Pariah.
And then it turned out that, oh no, everyone's seen through my
really?
ruse. It was me that wrote it.
It was just a prank, bro. I wrote the bad book.
like, what a
That's
lot of
absolute
nonsense.
Madness.
It's so...
Why bother? If you know your book is so shit, you have to invent a thinly veiled
Who you popped in
obvious
for
lie
2
character.
pages.
Like who you just
It's just so weird that
How
he
strange.
thought to do that. Why would you do that?
It's super in character with the person the kind of diagnosed
suppose.
person of who must have written the actual book, though. It's the actions of someone who thinks they're much cleverer than everyone else.
So to speed up so we can get to the very interesting stuff at the end.
Yeah.
Basically, so he goes to, he stops over in New Orleans one night. His drink gets spiked. He hallucinates a bunch of nonsense. He wakes up 2 days later. Then he's on his way down to Miami. He makes it to Miami. Then a car bomb goes off.
Just incidentally.
Good.
Love it when
Then
these
he
things happen
goes
in a story.
into he goes into like a little restaurant, and this woman called Anna Sierma comes and sits down next to him. She seems to be a sort of Russian agent of some sort.
Yeah.
She maybe shits herself on the floor. There's some mention of arse piss, and then
Wish she'd not
she's
been
like,
bringing it up.
and then she's like, "Oh, Ludstar's here. He's in this hotel, and so is Annie." And he's like, "Oh, how do you know that?" And she goes, "Everyone tells me stuff."
Oh.
And then she
She
walks-
got a sequel called
Yeah.
Anna, who just everyone tells stuff.
Anna who just knows stuff. So he's like, "Cool, I'll go to this hotel." So he goes to this hotel. He just kills the specifically black receptionist
mentioned.
because he sees that he's got the hem of a grass skirt just
Right.
there. So
And
he's
that means
he's
you
one
have
of the
to-
Ghanaian. He's one of Ludstar's lads.
I thought he was pro-lewd star.
Well, now he's not, because apparently it seems Ludstar is involved in
Donald
sex
Trump's
trafficking.
Casino sex trafficking.
Maybe.
Murdering the elderly nonsense plot.
Yeah. So
Oh,
then
no.
you wouldn't believe it. That song Gabriel's Oboe is playing, the Morricone song
Okay.
that he used to hallucinate previously.
Yeah.
And so he's like killing everyone to the tune of that. And then he
That's-
goes
that's
into
like something from a
he
film.
goes into a room, and it turns out it's Ludstar's room, and he is on the toilet. And
course.
Bob Honey kicks in the door. And Ludstar, I don't know if you remember, he was like a tribesman.
Yeah.
He wore a grass skirt.
Okay.
It was a very nuanced character. Well, he shoots a poison blow dart at Bob.
Wow.
It hits him in the nose, but Bob, what he did was he just took it out before the poison could get in. So he did that, and then he hammered him to death. And then he climbed onto the roof, and then he looked in from the roof because there was like a sort of skylight, and there was an ugly, fat, freckle-backed blonde man who was fucking a girl who didn't seem to be into it. And
Blonde,
he thought,
did you say?
Yeah, blonde. And he was like, "Oh, hang on a minute. Like, that looks like Annie." So he smashes the glass of the skylight, and he comes down and he smashes the guy over the head.
Yeah.
And it turns out it's not Annie, but he's like, "Oh, okay, anyway." And then let me just double check to make sure that I got this right.
Go on.
Yes, he gets shot in the back of the head.
Oh, to death?
Oh no,
my
not to
mistake,
death.
not to
No, it's very
Bounces
much.
off the
It's
dart.
very much in the 13 Reasons Why school of getting shot in the head, because it does say very explicitly that the bullet lodges in the cerebral cortex, which I'm
That's
no
a bad place
neurologist,
for it to
but
be.
it's not a place I'd want a bullet. But it is described as here we are in less of an oddity of adjudication than a predictability of political obfuscation and skullduggery. Bob was never charged with a crime. His neurocranial injury, while relatively superficial, left a mark on his
Being shot in the
mind.
brain for you.
Yeah.
Relatively superficial brain shooting.
There's a really weird chapter that follows whereby he's kind of like recovering in hospital, and there's potentially bits of an election going on, but
I'm
it's
sure
hard to pass, really. And then we come into the final chapter and epilogue.
I'm just really struggling to see how, if I'd invested a lot of effort into this, I'd be satisfied.
Sorry, and I would just like to say
it's
that in
gone.
terms of like plot, like that is it. Like
There's no more plot coming.
there isn't really any more plot coming.
Like, what
Basically,
happened to anything?
in a cruel twist of irony, Bob now has to go and live in a retirement home, and it's there's been an election, and the new president is a billionaire, and he owns like hotels and casinos and stuff.
Okay.
And his name is on this retirement home. It's like owned by, so he owns this building that Bob has to go.
That's funny.
Bob has to go and live in.
That's astute as well.
So he goes in and he's there. It turns out the receptionist is Annie, and they kind of pretend not to recognize each other for a bit.
That's a coincidence again.
And then they do, and then she like walks away. Then Spurley, he's
There as
out.
well.
He's outside.
Of course.
Don't worry, he's just sort of sat outside.
You can just put
Bob
characters wherever
Bob
you
is
want.
pretty sure he's there to kill him.
Sure.
Doesn't really have any evidence for that, but he's just sat outside.
Does he bludgeon him to death or not bother?
And then,
Okay. Are we done? Is this a reading? Do I have to listen
we're going to
to
do a reading. And feel free here to interrupt.
Okay. I might just leave.
And when I say interrupt, like, I don't mean with commentary, because I don't
Well,
want to
I
presume you
can't
don't. What
understand
could you possibly have to say? But I mean kind of more with like shouts and cheers when they feel necessary.
I'll play some inspirational music.
Bob considers this briefly, then approaches one of his 2 suitcases, zips it open. From it, he lifts a small Remington typewriter, carries it to the provided desk. In the drawer of the desk, he finds retirement home letterhead stationery. He rolls it into the typewriter and begins.
Okay. So now we're going into another type of text, the Bob text.
And they've used a different font.
That's cool, yeah. It did. May I confirm for the listeners, it looked like it could come from a typewriter.
Yeah, that's clever as
And
well.
that's pretty cool.
Mr. Landlord, comma.
Okay.
So I see you've sent a lackey to finish me off. Perhaps you've underestimated me. Perhaps you've underestimated us all. Our will to face attrition, to die, to kill, to be persecuted, to be shamed and humiliated. Our will to be mocked by your army of sycophantic, provocatorial propagandists is eternal, hungry, and inviting. Many wonderful American people in pain and rage elected you. Many Russians did too. Your position is an asterisk accepted as literally as your alternative facts. Though the office will remain real, you never were nor will be.
Yes.
1 million women so dwarfed your penicidency on the streets of Washington and around the world on the day of your piddly inauguration. Unprecedented. We, not you, own the most powerful weapons on Earth. Our dreams. The science of physics, seismology, geology, topography, and typhoons.
Yeah, we own them.
Common sense and a child's experimental taste of dirt. That's a bit about you, I think.
Sucking up the dirt.
So common to the grown-up boys, girls, colours, creeds and football players, you divide. At the bottom of any fissure, a reconnection. We've seen rock walls of time, space and the pace of water. They are not your buildings of bargain. Your gasconade, is that a word?
Not that I'm
Okay, cool. Your gasconade and cachet of catchphrases, so limiting and reflexive, escalate the emasculation of you by a world whose patience is in nuclear peril. These sciences and sensibilities are our guns your narcissism neglects. Weapons your NRA masters are incapable of proffering for profit, and outside your dutiful military's might, mandate, or mission. So, to your attempt to posthumously assassinate our founding fathers and bait and switch your core, I say I will eat where the fish are glowing. You are not simply a president in need of impeachment. You are a man in need of an intervention. We are not simply a people in need of an intervention. We are a nation in need of an assassin. I am God's squared away man. I am Bob Honey. That's who I am. Sir, I challenge you to a duel. Tweet me, bitch. I dare you.
God. Is that the end?
That's the end of the letter.
Okay.
Now,
Trump is definitely going to win.
Well,
next
now hang on a
election.
second. Before you say that, I'd like to read just a little footnote here that I found on the Bob Honey, Who Just Do Stuff Wikipedia page.
Okay.
There's a bit at the bottom here where it says, critics were keen to pick up on Mr. Landlord, a character that they believed could be a thinly veiled dig at Trump.
Let's not say thinly.
He is described as a violently immature 70-year-old a man boy with money and French vanilla cotton candy hair.
Mm-hmm.
One of the interesting things here is that he has said, and I don't know if you want to like take this to heart or not, he's not going to confirm nor deny whether the landlord is Trump. Penn, I quote, has maintained that it is up to the reader to interpret the metaphors he develops in the book.
Good luck. Good luck, because there are not really enough evidence for us to even speculate as to the identity of the landlord. It could be anyone.
Yeah.
It could be any person from history, almost at any point.
It could be any person from history who became
happened to
president
own
in that year.
casinos,
Be
be blonde,
an old.
put their name on buildings, be in a book where one of the chapters was called Mind Drump.
Now, there's a couple more things for us to have a little look at. And then finally we can be released from this fucking awful book.
Okay, straight on to Kwame.
So someone on the television is referring to a woman.
Yeah.
Now, this woman was seemingly running against the landlord
Okay.
to be president and lost. And
It could be anyone.
someone said she was absolutely the worst possible candidate to represent the party.
What does Bob have to say about that?
Really? Wonders Bob. As a mind that had managed thought in the silent circumlocution of sentences suddenly sharpens. Not charismatic enough for you folks? Too shrill? Too hawkish? Isn't it true that you never wanted qualifications? You wanted a star. You wanted to be charmed, seduced, and entertained. Was she the worst possible candidate, or are you the most arrogant, ill, and unqualified electorate in the history of the Western world?
Yes, blame the voters,
And
boys.
what does it matter now? She never came to entertain you. Neither did I. You want to kill me because I won't blow you hard enough? You want to kill me because I don't really believe we're the best country in the world? Because I don't want to buy a used car from your boss? Or don't believe in the gods you lie to? You want to kill me? You boogeymen and women? You worshippers of tits, ass and beefcake? You snivelling vomitous? And here I have to pause.
Why is
Because Sean uses some words that cannot be said on the podcast.
that? Oh, really?
He says, you snivelling, vomitous, K-word,
Oh,
N-word,
oh.
towel head, and wetback-hating, faggot-fearing colostomy bags of humanity.
Wow. Why? He was good. He
That's
was a
what-
pro-Hillary
that's what I wrote.
speech a minute ago.
Yeah, no. So basically, what it is that he's saying he's addressing the people who hate
Yeah.
those people that he's listed using for reasons we can only
That'll show 'em.
speculate.
Talk exactly how they
Use
might.
exactly the
These
slurs
imaginary
they
people.
would.
Fucking hell.
Like, just have a little look at it written down.
I mean, yeah. He's put like dashes all over the place as well, as if to really
Because
draw your
it's
attention
because
to
that's like
all
they're about to lead on to
hyphenated phrases.
hating.
it. Yeah, and fearing. And,
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So
Really
bad.
bad thing you've done there.
Yeah. Annie leaves him a message. She writes him a little letter.
She needs
But
that.
then also she's just down the hall.
Yeah.
He goes down and he's like, "Oh, give me a stamp." And she's like, "Cool, here it is." And then he says, "Post that for me." And she looks up bewildered and says, "But to whom am I posting it? There's no address." Bob replies,
Of course, she says to whom as well.
"Post it to the landlord."
Fucking landlord, yes.
Now, I foolishly, then he just goes back to his room.
Yeah.
He lays down. He puts on this song he's been
And that's
listening
the
to for the
end.
whole thing, and that's the end.
No, it's not. There's not another bit. Please, God.
There's an epilogue.
Release us!
There's an epilogue.
How long is the
And I
fucking
missed the epilogue.
Oh, no. I'm sorry to hear that.
But then I was alerted to it by reading the Wikipedia. The epilogue,
yeah.
and there's no easy way to say this,
It's the best thing ever written.
it is a poem.
Oh, no.
It is a poem.
It doesn't rhyme, does it?
Well, let's have,
Oh, no.
let's have a little look at the
Sean is
epilogue.
personally attacking what I hate the most.
What would be a nightmare? What would be a dream? 1,000 golden churches, melted wings of clotted cream,
Meaningless.
communes of corruption in no mood for nuanced things, just tit-for-tat instructions as the pompous pendulum swings. Cyber wars are waging by hands that seem so clean, while Yemen's children die in a terror best unseen. In aggregate atmospherics, our country dance boots burst its spleen, fussy fated fusion fists at the tip of a laser beam. From Jupiter, it must look so small, the petty pustule bickering of it all, in war between women and men, unadhering to nature's call. At the Mandalay in Vegas, so much terror, death and shock. Little men made big by legal bump fire stock. Sexual misdoings, awakening a rage. Net pics recasts readers, hiding its cabal with the slick Ted
pics.
turn of a page.
Netpicks.
Though warrior women bravely walk the walk, derivatives of disproportion draw heinous hypocrites to their flock. A child's question comes on Sunday. What if Monday died? Would there be only 6 days a week to live? And if Monday can die, so can the rest of days. And I. Puerto Ricans catching hand towels, but they have no home nor light. So let's all just be loving, no need to scream and fight. Fat men tell fat lies, while G-men sift their treasures. This season of treason's triumph under Moscow's active measures.
Huge.
There are no men nor women, only movements own the day, until movements morph to mayhem and militaries chip away, whether North Korean missiles or marching Tehran's way. Where did all the laughs go? Are you out there, Louis C.K.? Once crucial conversations kept us on our toes. Was it really in our interest to trample Charlie Rose? And what's with this Me Too, this infantilizing term of the day? Is this a toddler's crusade, reducing rape, slut-shaming and suffrage to reckless child's play? A platform for accusation impunity? Due process has lost its sheen? But fuck it, what we worry? I'm a hero to Time magazine. Mandatory service might humble a man, woman or three, but it all adds up to a scratch when we is never we. They'll do all they can to scare, play, and distract you, keep you up all night with news of nothing but a who's who. Some seize on Scientology, padlock wives inside a cupboard, so when it is time to say, we all knew about Ron Hubbard, and while we feuded, failed and fought, we watched Sagan's precious dot turned tawdry on its axis, raising humanity's mortal taxes. Net neutrality? No more. Have we all become the big man's whore? So rattled, addled and saddled, our entitlement is recklessly embattled. Hawaiians felt the drill while denial had 38 minutes to kill, but the mainland's recognition? Too exhausted, too quickly left nil. And Bob?
Oh, not
Well,
Bob.
He's been resting, hours have gone by, here's what we must see when survival tells no lies. Night has fallen over the retirement home. The elderly sleep in their beds, the Buick door creeps open, amber security lights overhead. Step by step he approaches, a killer disguising his dread. When he crosses foyer to counter the blonde, face down, resting her head, "Excuse me, miss," whispers Spurley. "I'm looking for a Bob," he said.
Bob.
The girl's velvet voice gently answers, "A man named Bob is doing his job. ...
Good rhyme.
In bed."
His bed job, yeah.
But underneath the counter unseen had the voice really come, thrown so clean from Annie, completely bald and in underwear and body so supple and lean, and the girl seen resting her head. Gosh, she suddenly looks big over there. Her tight shirt of institution around shoulders bursting its micro threads bare. Then suddenly, lurching like lightning, charges that blonde head body so big. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, that blonde girl is bobbing a wig. Spurley sped for cover in shield of tendril-rooted
Someone check in
teasel,
with Sean
but
Penn
Bob
right
wields his wild mallet.
This man is
Poppity
in
pop!
crisis.
And will drop the weasel. Spurley concusses like a canvas, its skin splayed from its easel, drops a load in his dewy drawers, spreading a suri stench of diesel. No
Made of oil.
no,
Is he a car?
no humanity of house, nor witness to wise. He coughs up his gas bloating guts, bends over desk, and dies.
Right.
Cascades of
Why
curdling
did he
blood
die?
pour past Annie's eyes, though she now screams in horror, so finally complicit is she. Sounds a bit like us, don't it?
No.
In love
Not-
and
couldn't
killing,
sound less.
completely complicit are we. And Bob Honey, a being, unbranded, unbridled,
Yeah.
and free.
I'm free. Merry Christmas to all. Wow. Now, that was a lot to take in, and I'm not ever going to forgive you for just launching into it without telling me quite how long it was going to be. and quite how much ground it was going to cover, because I wasn't emotionally
There's a lot
prepared.
going on where it's all very political. It's all very political, and then it's all very specifically about Bob dressing up as a woman
Yeah.
in
A
order
big
to
blonde threaded woman.
in a kind of a almost a Robert Galbraith moment, dressing up as a woman
yeah.
in order to murder Spurley with a hammer. After which, I think he shit petrol into his pants
Yes,
and
no,
died.
he did, because he was a robot. wasn't
Yeah.
he was the landlord.
What did you think? Just knowing what we do about Penn and some of the accusations against him about this particular section, I noticed you chuckling away a little bit at it. Where did all the laughs go? Are you out there, Louis C.K.?
Yeah.
Once crucial conversations kept us on our toes, was it
don't-
really in
don't
our
read it
interest
again.
to trample Charlie Rose?
The Me Too bit?
Yeah.
I thought it was really. I guess one of the things that literature does, right, is it presents rather the alternative view. And I don't know about you, but God, everything's great for women these days. And isn't
so
it about
good.
time that Sean Penn wrote a whole book, just to build up to having a go at them and say,
Yeah,
you know
it's
what,
really good.
You know what?
You've
it's
had it
bad
too
that
good.
it's bad that you get
Yeah.
to like pursue justice
Oh,
for
my-
historical and current sexual
How
assault.
dare
Like,
you?
get back in your cage.
Yeah.
Like, fuck
Oh,
off.
I used to love that chat show. Why you
Yeah,
gone ruined
you've ruined
it?
it for me. It's this book.
Would you do that if you had a history
Go on.
of being accused of beating up?
Maybe that's what you would do, and I mean it is what
Wow,
he did.
I see.
So maybe
Oh,
that
yeah,
just
no, well, maybe
is how
that's
it
it.
happens. I think I see now what the book is, and it's just a great big sort of like splurge of the extent to which Trump becoming president has ruined this man's mind. Like I think he must just have existed so far away from like the reality, the material reality of politics for so long. Like he's been famous our whole lives, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know when he first became famous. I don't know how old he was, but he must have been quite young. And it's been like 3 decades at least. So it's like, it's a bit like what everyone said about the Brexit vote. Everyone who voted Remain, that is, they were like, oh my God, when I woke up the next day, it was like I didn't know what country I was in anymore. And you're like, well,
you've
the
been
reason
living
for
in
that
it.
is because that's why you lost.
Yeah,
pal.
100%.
And I think it seems like he thinks he's doing us a favor with like checking in and being like, open your eyes, guys. Can't you see there's a goddamn Cheeto in the White House? Do you need me to point it out? And everyone's like, no, we don't need you to point it out. And if anything,
Here's some of his
your
favourite
analysis
words.
is so fucking facile, bordering on like horseshoe theory, back around to actually being
Just
more
pro-Trump.
support. Yeah, that like if this book could only make you like Trump more,
Yeah.
by virtue of its author disliking him.
It has by the sheer power that he has had to literally melt the minds of people
Yeah.
who previously didn't need to know what politics was, and they heard about it because of him, and then they decided that their whole lives were over.
It's like a companion piece. It's like the sort of surreal companion piece to Hillary's book that she wrote that you started. Did you ever finish it?
What happened? I read about
Yeah.
half of it.
I think like from the bits that you read, it seems like the tone of it being like this kind of like hang up. It's like this, like, what are they, little hangnail things that people get that they're like picking away at. This tone of like aggravation and feeling aggrieved and feeling like you took your eye off the ball and like everyone else let you down.
It did feel like that, but it also felt like there's like a bit in Veep where when she loses the election, she goes to the next series is set like a year after, and they kind of like drip feed this idea that after the series finale of the previous season, she had to spend some time in a mental home because she just had a total breakdown. And when they flash back to it, she's just very detached from it.
Yeah.
And the Hillary book certainly had that kind of feel to it at points where she's just like really mundanely describing like eating breakfast. And you're like, this is someone who has just had to remove themselves from a situation that they already actually weren't politically invested in, just personally.
There just seems to be a pervasive sense of like of feeling like attacked by reality and being incapable of interfacing with it in
Yeah.
a way that isn't just spewing bullshit.
Well, it's because the whole liberal mindset is that they had not previously been burdened by having to actually be involved at all in politics. Like, that mindset kind of thrives on the idea that actually, no matter who is in charge, it basically caters to them.
Yeah.
And they're able to be, at most, kind of disappointed by it, but for the large part, pretty ambivalent towards whatever's going on, because at least there's some decorum, right? At least they're nice men in suits.
Who all look sort of interchangeable.
Yeah. And they don't have to confront the fact that, you know, even those nice men in suits are doing the exact same things, often much worse things than what Trump has done, but just with a kind of like air of respectability.
Yeah.
And so suddenly that was gone, and they therefore had to all of a sudden confront all this other stuff that they had been kind of pretending not to worry about for like honestly decades. It's just kind of it really broke them, because they're just very fragile, unserious people.
It's such an angry book throughout. Like that's the sort of word I would use to summarize most of the vibe of it. Like it's angry in the way that like when a baby is having a tantrum, it's just angry at everything, like every possible thing.
Yeah,
it's
it just has
flailing.
to. It just has to cry.
It
because
has to
can't-
shout at like
Yeah.
minorities and at women and at us, the reader.
Is that what babies
and
are
at
doing?
We, the public. And I'm saying, baby,
The racist.
have a bottle.
homophobic.
Sort it out.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's like the final sort of death throes of Sean Penn's mind, really.
Yeah, it
just
is-
feels like a man who is cracked.
It's kind of apt that the final sort of plot element of the book is a man shitting himself into death, because that is kind of what the book is. Now, there was one thing that I did save, just a tiny, nothing major.
God.
I don't have to read
It's an extra
from
chapter
the book.
that Sean released just for you.
Yeah, it's sort of that. It's this little bit here right at the bottom of the Bob Honey Who Just Do Stuff Wikipedia page under the subheading of sequel,
No.
which I can't believe we've let pass
commissioning?
by. A sequel was released on September 10th,
already
2019,
out.
with the title Bob Honey Sings Jimmy Crack Corn, published by Rarebird Books, as
Rare
it directly
Bird Books.
continues off the events of the first novel, seeing Bob Honey, hunted by the authorities, head to Washington, D.C. to directly confront the landlord.
Okay, and when are you starting that one? Is that going to be like next year's
soon-
project?
As soon as my mind has recovered,
As soon as...
I think that to sum up the whole thing, there's at the bottom of most Wikipedia pages, there's like a see also section with other related pages, and there are 3. One is media manipulation. Another is
Generous.
the assassination of Richard Nixon, the movie which starred Sean Penn.
Yeah.
And the other is to a Wikipedia page. Do you want to just read out the name of that?
Is it Terrible Books? List of books considered the worst. well done, Wikipedia. What a dunk. So there we have it. The long-awaited return to Bob Honey, who just did stuff. And try as we might, we can't deny that throughout that, how many pages would you say?
Oh, it was
4 million?
153.
It's only 153. It felt like a lifetime.
Yeah, it did,
Really
didn't it?
did.
Yeah.
He did just keep doing stuff, and to my mind, it got worse and worse.
The stuff he was doing,
It got
and
worse
the way
worse.
in which we were told.
Not only in terms of like the later stuff was worse, but the later stuff recolored the original stuff as even worse.
Yeah.
It was like constantly dragging the whole book down, page by page, word by word, sentence by sentence, and for that we have to applaud Sean.
Well done.
For
That's
inventing
difficult
a
to
new
do.
and terrible style of prose. We'll be putting Sean Penn out of sight and out of mind for, let me say, at least the rest of the
Maybe
year.
our first video content could be a video where we just get some like
beat 'em up.
lo-fi hip hop beats while we just burn it page by page.
That'd be really cool. That'd be very cool. Now, speaking of that video content, what is it that's happened over in the kind of finance sphere that's meant that that's happening and imminent?
What happened is we reached
The
the
auspicious goal.
milestone of 10 patrons.
That's huge.
a very
That's
big
10
numbers.
people
Double
who've
digits.
decided to part with their hard-earned money during this, a global pandemic.
We can't attest as to why.
No, the jury is still out on that one. Many are saying that it's not actually legal for us to accept it on the grounds that it might be predating
It's
on
not-
the vulnerable.
It's not just that it breaches some kind of like sales contract of like false advertising in terms of, you know, giving any extra content.
Yeah.
But it's that
'Cause we do
it
that.
is literally, I think it has to be declared as some sort of charitable donation on their part.
It's radical.
Because it is, they are not purchasing a goods or service.
No, you couldn't describe these as goods, what we're flogging. And services, certainly not. If anything, we're probably making their lives
It's a
worse.
disservice.
With all this Sean. But, God, we're grateful, aren't we?
We're extremely grateful.
Thank you to all our patrons. We love you dearly. And we'll be releasing, as we said, double bonus content this week. And we'll be in touch with the little things. We've got to make some video stuff now. We've got a few ideas for what that could be. But some of them are illegal.
And some of them were literally just a piss take for you guys.
Yeah,
So
we'll
that would
see
be bad
about
to hear.
that. And if you want to, you non-patrons out there, if you'd like to get involved, you'll be hopping aboard a train that is laden with content, quite frankly. Not one of those passenger trains, one of those freight trains that goes past and past.
Oh, yeah,
and
it just
past,
keeps
and just
on
when you think
rolling.
it's gone, there's another 50
bit.
carriages. And there's a guy sleeping on it. He waves as he goes, he might be dead. Bye! See you in the next life.
That's Bob.
That's Bob, just doing more stuff. If you want to hop aboard, patreon.com/shamecity for the low price of $5 a month. You'll be getting bonus episodes every Wednesday. And in fact, more than one this week. Alongside all the ones that are already there, which will be insta unlocked for you.
There's like 50 or 60 things there for you to see.
Private, exclusive, hot to trot RSS feed that you can slot into your favourite pod app. Clear as day. What else do we have?
We've got Twitter. We've actually got,
We've got
two Twitters.
So yeah, we mentioned that.
No,
it was
I don't
unbanned.
think we have.
Well,
After-
our account that was banned in April, they just unbanned it now. No sorry, no explanation, no. Oh no, we didn't get back to your 50
Wham bam.
messages.
No thank you, ma'am.
Just
Here
have it
is.
back. And
Yeah.
now, quite frankly, I feel sick to look at
I
it.
don't want it.
I'm going to delete it. No, I'm not. I think we probably might use it for something.
We're going to use it. We'll probably use it to just share stuff for the time
But one
being.
day we could, once we're an empire, we could restructure.
Wow, we
and
could
have
sell
that
it.
as our. Yeah, fuck that. We could have one as our hub and one as our like offshoot.
Wow, that would be big.
And we
Currently,
could
our
start-
offshoot is bigger than the hub, which is a shame.
That's new.
That's
Not
how
many
they say
people
to
are
do
doing
it.
that. Our outriders are like taken over. I think it's powerful. That's at Shame City Gang, our proper
That's
one.
the one you should be following. Yeah.
You can follow That's Shamecast as well, but it won't do anything for you.
Email us, TAS, that's TAS, at
Yep.
shame.city.
Let us know which of the Cormoran Strike novels you'd like Declan
I
to
won't
read
be reading
first.
any. I
In
won't be
what
reading
order
any
would you
of them.
recommend?
I don't want to read it.
Any other
I don't want to
challenges
talk
you've
to
got?
you.
And then we'll, as I say, work out the kind of Patreon
I'm
balance
going to leave the room.
for all that, because we do need to decide on our 15 Patreon goal.
Leaving the... I'm doing it for 15 pages.
No, but we'll do something for 15, I know.
Yeah, we'll do
You'll have to
something.
take
It
the
won't be
top
that.
off.
The
Again.
is that what the new video content is?
That's all it is.
Fuck's sake.
Look, it's been a journey with Bob. Not a journey any of us asked to go on. Declan
You asked
as well.
You asked me to go on it.
Never did, never would, never could. But we've come through it, haven't we? And that's really the greatest lesson of all, that even through the horror and the nightmare, the fecal leaking of that particular station, which will haunt me for many a day, even through all that, we found a way to clasp each other's hands and step on forward, ever onward and onward into oblivion. And if that's not TAS, I don't know what is. I've been Isaac, you've been...
I've been Declan.
See you on the flip side, Bob.
I'm still with her.
Look for the best necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder of my big home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder, my new home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you.